Bodges Adventures with the Bograts. Introduction. Bixhampton is not a place you would choose to visit. At best, you may find yourself there by accident, and promptly leave as soon as you could. It has never been a popular destination, and even the people that had to work there preferred to commute. The town, not considered a town officially until Myron started injecting money into developments, is on a peninsula and has a lighthouse situated just over the river with a bridge conveniently adjacent to the lab Myron had built. On several occasions, birders would enter this desolate place only to leave disappointed at the lack of birds nesting there, and wildlife in general for that matter. It has been like this for hundreds of years, apparently. It's even been said it was haunted by prehistoric man that had wandered into the area looking for an easy kill, only to find themselves trapped and eventually perished there, for their ghostly bodies to walk the land with dirty wet feet, howling like a trapped beast. Some say it's the bog oozing gases from the toxic waste that create the haunting sounds, and others say it's a load of tripe left over from the ancient tripe wars of old. This so-called old town, that wasn't a town, was once, many years ago, a fishing port with just one road in and out. The railway came much later. It was a wet, marshy area, unfit to build on in those early days before the modern technology we have today. Over half of the land was ultimately taken over by the government at the turn of the century and used for experimenting on artillery and later jet research. The railway was put in soon after the government took over. The area that the bog is situated started off as a chemical storage, but the building gradually sunk along with the chemicals and various other things that have been declared top secret for years. The area is deemed dangerous and cordoned off to create a no-go zone. Even though there's little to see, now it's completely consumed by the earth and overgrown. Ideal for making a home for small creatures that don't mind a few odd smells, with its labyrinth of pipes and hollows, quiet but for the rocket launch area next door. The rodents could make as much noise as they like without the worry of anyone bothering them. This wasn't without its drawbacks though. With little to speak of going on, and nothing to disturb activities that may or may not be 100% above board, Professor Myron thought it an ideal place to build his own experimental lab. The lab could be built right next to an outlet river and next to a bridge as an emergency exit route. Not that he needed one, obviously. Work began, building first a lab, and then some houses for its staff. Even though the area started to grow, the lab was kept at a safe distance from prying eyes. Myron had come into a lot of money just after he finished university, when both of his parents mysteriously died in a duck pond-related incident, leaving Myron the one and only beneficiary of a massive fortune. Myron was almost kicked out of the university after being caught doing some strange experiments on the campus cat, but as his father had donated so much money to the university, he was forgiven and asked not to do his own experiments on the university grounds. This he agreed to, reluctantly. Professor Myron was a tall, spindly man and has been his entire adult life. He had gone prematurely grey in high school. It was reported at the time that he fell into a dry well and was there for 2 nights before being discovered, and soon after, the grey hair appeared, and had a pale complexion to boot. All his extremities were, let's say, thin and longer than your average guy, and he was slightly stooped due to his height, and consequence of having been stuck in the well, no doubt. He tended to dress in an old-fashioned style, wearing wire spectacle that sat neatly on the end of his nose, and would mumble to himself a lot. Oh, and he did try to sport a moustache once, but thought it made him look too military, whatever that means. But he was a determined man and set goals with little thought of the effect on the people and the environment around him, to the point of madness. Though, to meet him socially, He was charming, funny, and an interesting conversationalist. He would be happy to spend hours talking about some of his achievements, and himself of course. Sadly, darker thoughts were hiding behind his shady eyes, thoughts you wouldn't even dream of on a cold, wet Halloween horror night. But he was good with children and loved to sponsor days out for the local school, so not all bad then. It was once said, but don't say I told you, that there was a girl who died shortly after he came into his money. But it was just a rumor, no more. After time, a main street was put in the town to be, with a few shops and a station that was erected on Professor Myron's request. Later came the restaurants and the library, etc. There were many secrets to be found hidden in the simple but well-stocked library, just waiting to be discovered by an intrepid party, of which fortunately for us this story has. Myron carried a lot of weight in the town, and it said he has contacts in the rocket and launch research facility next door. It was said he was at university with the head researcher. Besides, if it wasn't for Myron, the land would still have been barren, with no one else interested in developing it. Though I have it on good authority that he got it for a song on the understanding he turned the area into a community with houses and shops, which to be fair he did, but at what cost, that's what a birdie told me. Well, there you have it, a short history of the unwanted town of Bixhampton. The history is patchy and there's no one around that knows where the name originated from, but maybe there's someone out there that has the knowledge and interest to dig deep into the secret archive hidden somewhere in the town. Some say the name Bix was a little-known Saxon king that died having landed here, and the Hampton part of the name was thought just a joke, coincidentally was the surname of Myron, as no one lived in this town of ghosts. Or maybe not, who knows, you could fill the blanks yourself, if you fancy. It was a peaceful day, possibly a Tuesday or a Thursday, not sure. Not a whisper could be heard, which was strange, because there was usually the odd scream or loud squeak echoing around the lab. The day was fresh and clear, without a breeze nor a bird's song to break the silence. A little spooky, some might say. Up until now, Myron had pretty much the run of the town, but things were about to change. The people of Bixhampton were beholden to him as he employed most of them in and around the lab. The people were basically good people. It was them that encouraged the birds to move into the area with new plant life and feeders all over the town. Wildlife had also moved in, but most wasn't native to the region. The town was beginning to feel like a pleasant place to live at last. And so the twisted story starts, of a little creature that would change the future of Bixhampton for the good, but not without setbacks and struggle that would take us through many adventures, disasters, and joys for one of the town's smaller creatures. Chapter 1. Bodge meets a Bograt. I was lost and a little confused, but not scared. I feel I am streetwise, even though I didn't know my way home. I knew I could look after myself, I think. This is how I felt. Hi, my name is Bodge. I'm a rat of some distinction. I can read and I know who and what I am, an incredulous but hopeful, slightly lonely and, did I say, clever rat. I'm not fully aware of the extent of my cleverishness yet, but I will soon find out how marvelous I can be. I checked myself, all legs fully equipped with toes, that's good, all working. Long tail, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but it looks and feels okay. Long nose and lots of whiskers, they could be handy. I can see as far as there's things to see, and I think I can hear, but it's very quiet, so I'll check that again later. I have a bracelet on my leg that must have been given to me by my parents. It has my name on it and a number, that's nice. Everything seems normal, even though I don't remember anything before I found myself waking up just now. My journey of discovery starts here as I head in the direction of my nose. I've never been out in the open air before, but somehow, I just seem to know I'm in a town, and a busy one at that. The evening was a little chilly and with a slight breeze that had a bite to it. But it also had an interesting smell too, and it was coming from the east. I kept myself out of sight. I don't know why. There wasn't anyone around. Safety first. It wasn't long before the hum of the town made itself known. My ears weren't used to all the sounds all at the same time. The town was full of big beans, smoky shiny tin boxes on wheels, lots of noise, smells and other rats. The big beans don't seem to notice us rats much, and they don't seem bothered as long as we stay in our place, the curb that is. The town rats are another thing altogether. They can be nasty. I keep my distance from them because they snarled and growl when they see me. They were scruffy and smelly too, and they didn't say hello when I spoke to them. So rude. I don't know how I managed to avoid the busy roads without getting run over or coughing myself to death. I really don't think I like it much. So I kept walking and walking and walking, avoiding contact with anything and everything, at least until I could get to grips with my newfound freedom. Even though I can't remember my past, I feel as if I have been set free from something. I don't think I have walked so much, ever. My legs are getting tired, but I just want to keep going. My ears are definitely working. They were aching too with the sound of melodic mayhem. Bang, 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 twang, 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 and the tin boxes roaring by, not to mention the big beans shouting. Total mayhem. There were some nice things though about the town, like tasty smells. Not all smells were nice though, but this one particular smell led me to a place called Wong's Chinese restaurant on a colorful but hectic road. It's hard to describe the smell. It had a spicy edge that hits the back of the nose, but also sweet with a hint of rosemary. It made my tummy rumble. There was an oriental feel about it maybe, but one thing I can say is, it was incredible. I was very, very hungry. So, I decided, there's good and bad things about the town. Some good noises, some bad noises, some good smells, and some bad smells. I mean, awfully bad smells. I discovered I like what the big bins called Chinese food. What's more, there's plenty to be had behind every restaurant in town. Yeah, I think I might just stay in town. I found a neat out-of-sight hiding place behind a bin, and I set the table with a time-worn used candle, an old newspaper for a tablecloth, not forgetting 2 toothpicks to eat with. Did I tell you I was clever? With the table set, I just needed some food and maybe a nice glass of wine. Rummaging through the bin, I found a discarded chicken dinner that had been half eaten, or as I like to say, half not eaten. Digging deeper, yes, some wine has been left in a bottle. White wine, perfect. I am set for a dining extravaganza to rival the Ratto Ritz. As I relaxed after consuming my drink and food, the melodic mayhem seemed to turn into a pleasant background music, and the evening moon seemed to glow bright orange with what looked like rings around it. The sound of voices had all but vanished, apart from the chef shouting at the washer upper, and the cool breeze had gone, leaving a more agreeable feeling in my bones. With my belly full and well rested, I thought it a good time to look around a little more, see the sights. Life seems alright, for now, or so I thought. I'm not sure what I thought I would see, but I think the good food and wine had left me optimistic. I left the comfort of the bin behind the Chinese restaurant as everything seemed quiet enough, but I was wrong. The moment I stepped out, I was confronted by 2 smelly town rats. These town rats were a little scruffy, overweight, and they didn't look too menacing to me, but they did seem a tad annoyed. The feeling I got was that I had ventured into what they considered their territory. I, on the other hand, did not wish to agree. "Can I help you boys?" I tried to sound cool. It didn't work. My question hit a stony silence. You would think they didn't even understand what I was saying. I continued with, "Is there anything I can do for you?" They were looking at me rather oddly and were very quiet, as if waiting to pounce. I noticed a shadow appear at my feet. Someone was behind me. I glanced around, trying not to move my head, looking for any little hole I could run into. I spotted an ideal one that looked just big enough for me, even though I had a full stomach, and a bit too small for the large rats. The shadow was getting bigger. It was now or never. I needed a diversion, so I gave out an extremely loud fart. It was disgusting, the special vegetable surprise, I think. I quickly dived for the hole, not knowing where it would take me, just somewhere safer, I hoped. The moon lit the opening quite well, but it was very dark inside. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't look back. I could hear the huge rat scratching and clambering to get in and devour me. I needed to keep moving. But now I was underneath the restaurant looking for a way out. Standing in the darkness, I felt as if I wasn't alone. The hairs on my back started to stand on end. As my eyes started to adjust to the lack of light, I could make out little eyes blinking and a slight whimpering. The room was full of baby rats and their protective mothers. They seemed more frightened of me than I of them. I think I need to leave. It wasn't hard to find an exit. There were lots of holes and gaps in this old building. I liked the smell, but the company was a little disturbing. I made my departure. Once again, I wasn't too sure about staying in town with all these aggressive, overweight, bad-tempered territorial rats that didn't seem to want to share what seemed to be a smorgasbord of food and drink. I wandered around, minding my own business, avoiding any nasties, until I found myself at the edge of town, where the streets were quieter, and the streetlights were fewer. It was getting late, but the moon was shining bright in the sky. I realized I had walked through the town to the other side, where there was plenty of trees and bushes, but no buildings. I started to think of where I could rest. It had been a long and eventful day in this new place, and I need to think of what to do next. It was exceptionally quiet but for the occasional sound of a metal box on wheels zooming along. I thought I could hear a humming noise too, but chose to ignore it. Probably a bee, I thought. As I walked along this particularly dark street, I heard a voice say, "Excuse me." I looked around but saw nothing. "Excuse me," I said. "I know, I heard you the first time. Where are you?" "Up here, look straight up." It was a rat hanging by his tail from the branch of a bush. "Oh, hello." That's when I first met Scoot. A kindly but slightly smelly rat, though not as bad as the town rats, who was soon to introduce me to the Bograts, his family and friends who lived on the outskirts of town in a place they called the Bog. Scoot was slightly overweight from the neck down compared to me, spoke in riddles, and he was slightly forgetful, but likable. "Ah, you can talk." I was beginning to think no one could understand me, Bodge said with some relief. "We all talk and understand stuff. It's just that some, mainly town rats, choose to ignore you talking, preferring to growl and bark at you. They are just ignorant." "You mean ignorant?" "Isn't that what I said? Ignorant." I would like to tell you about the adventures and misadventures of this ragtag, whiffy, warm-hearted, happy bunch of rats from the bog. They have the kindest hearts, just ever so slightly misinformed, muddled up, and perhaps not the brightest bulbs in the bike shop, in a drawer labeled old second-hand light bulbs. But they love their music. Music seemed to be the underlying place that they draw their strength. But we don't want a spoiler, so I'll leave it there. Another unique thing about the Bograts is their use of certain previously unused words. That's the only way I can say it. Words that have no meaning to anyone other than them. Their words appear to me as two or more words cut up and stuck together randomly, or words cut short. You'll see as this story unfolds. You take that first day I met Scoot. I would say he found me, but to be more accurate, I found him, humming, chewing a piece of brown paper, hanging upside down in a hedge, squirter-zoning. Bograt words can be found at the rear of the book titled Bogtionary. Hello, I spoke with my poshest voice. My name is... Stop! Don't tell me, he whispered. It's Hendingafarticle Jr. No. Don't tell me, Wildiloper III. No. I replied in a loud, forceful voice very quickly so as to stop him making any more guesses. Bodge, with a capital letter at the front and a full stop at the back. And why are you whispering? I always whisper on a Wednesday. Scoot murmured quietly. But it's Tuesday, I replied. He simply smiled, belched and farted all at the same time and carried on chewing and humming. What are you? I quizzed. Well, my name is Scoot and it's a secret actually. I'm a member of a top secret gang called the Bograts. Oh, I've told you too much. Did I say my name is Scoot? Well, actually, you haven't told me much at all. I started to tell him my own story. There wasn't a lot to tell him really, as I don't remember a thing before this morning when I found myself waking up the other side of town, but I told him everything since then. How I found a Chinese restaurant and my sector with the town rats, right up until finding him hanging in a tree. I've lost my family and have nowhere to go. Where do you live? That's a secret too, said he. We live in the bog. Oh, I shouldn't have told you that. What does this gang do? I do like to pry, I thought to myself. I would tell you if it wasn't a secret. I'm not allowed to tell anyone that we break into shops and steal food and drinks, take them back to the bog and party to the Bograt music. Can I join the gang please? I said in my keenest voice, trying not to sound desperate. I felt this could be my only chance to have a new home again and have friends and feel like a family. If I can get through this enigma, that was Scoot. What gang? I don't know what you are talking about. I wasn't sure if he was joking or serious. Okay, if that's the way you want to play it, I'll just leave you in this bush upside down and let the big fox find you. I hadn't really seen any foxes, nor any other kind of predatory creatures on my travels, but that didn't mean there wasn't any. Well, maybe you could join, just don't tell anyone. Tell them what? I retorted. About the secret gang. Shh. Bushes have ears. Do they? Said Scoot. I'll have to keep an eye out for them ears. Right, where is this bog? I stated, this time with a strong, positive, assertive voice. I'm good at voices, I thought. Scoot felt outranked. I can't tell you that it's over the other side of the road. I know, because it's a secret. Scoot started scrambling for an answer. No, because it ain't. Well, it is, but it's dangerous. Well, not dangerous, it's scary. No, not scary either. Yes, it's a secret and only I know how to cross the road. Danger is my middle name. I tugged Scoot by the whiskers, and he fell to the ground right on his head. That was lucky. I could have hurt myself. Scoot rubbed his head rigorously. Bodge shouted from the other side of the road. Scoot quickly scampered over the road, narrowly being hit by a passing truck. For the record, a truck is a very big metal box with lots of wheels. big round ones. Is Danger really your middle name? I don't have enough space between my first and last name for a middle one. These were his first words as he caught his breath. I just ignored him. Life's too short, I thought, and my legs are even shorter. We stood there for a minute. Scoot was scratching his head and looking puzzled, so I felt justified in saying, "Shall we go then?" with my most patient voice, as that was what we agreed. "Go where?" he replied. I'm a tolerant rat, but I was beginning to wonder if I made the right choice. "Where's that? How did you know about the bog? Who told you about the bog?" I started to walk on, hoping that Scoot would take the lead and show me the way. I was right. He did once his brain had rebooted. That was the beginning of my adventures with the Bograts, but I didn't realize they would start so soon. Scoot and I walked for a while in the curb to avoid the big beans. You might call them human beings, but we don't. The big beans may tolerate us, but they don't like us one bit. I can't imagine why. Our teeth are nice and yellow and sharp, and we have adorable long snouts, not to mention our lovable tails. Scoot started to ask about my background again. "I can't tell you," I responded. "Why?" Scoot said with a puzzled look on his face. "I can't remember a blooming thing before today. I told you already. I'm sure I have a family though. I just can't picture them at all. All I have of my family is this bracelet. I think my dad might have given it to me. It's a funny looking bracelet," Scoot remarked, still wearing the same puzzled look and with a disinterested tone. Then he said, "This place looks familiar. This is the bog." Yes, I looked around. We've been going round in circles for a while. "No," exclaimed Scoot, "this is the place. I'm sure of it. Look at the sign." I looked up, and sure enough, the beaten up old wooden sign that read "The Bog, Danger, Keep Out." "Can you read?" I said to Scoot. "No, but I recognized the smell, a sort of tangy poo-like smell with a twist of lemon and a hint of bluebells." "You know you're weird, don't you, Scoot?" "I know, but what does that make you?" "That doesn't make sense." "Ha, but it's funny. Let's go in." "Not yet, we have to check that no one is following us." "All clear," Scoot announced. "What about that fox that's been walking 10 paces behind us for the last 5 minutes? Is he in the gang?" "He ain't," cried Scoot. "Run." We hid in a drain by the curb in the dark. I wasn't really scared, but Scoot seemed to be. I was only guessing, but he did smell a little stronger than earlier. "Should we make a dash for it?" I asked, thinking it would be fun. "Well, you can. I'm not moving from this spot until it's quite safe." "If you say so." I started to climb out the drain. All was quiet. I darted under a big shiny metal wheeled object that was standing next to the curb. Nothing was moving. The air was still a bit whiffy, but you knew what I meant. Not a sound could be heard, not even that creepy old owl you always hear in these situations. So, I stepped out from under the shiny metal wheelie thing. If you are a big bin reading this, you would probably call it a car, but we don't. Without a moment to breathe in, I was swept up by the mouth of a fox and into a nearby garden behind an old wooden shed that badly needed a coat of creosote and a bit of patching up too. The shed, I mean, not the fox. As I understand it, Scoot had witnessed everything, and he crept out from the drain and ran straight into the bog. Well, would you believe that? I thought he would have at least tried to save me. I began to think, that's it, nice to have met you, good night Vienna, but then, after the fox had spoken, I drifted into a kind of sleep. It had been a long day. Could this be the end of Bodge? I don't think so. It would be a very short story if it was. I didn't know it at the time, because I wasn't there of course, but I have it on good authority, that in fact Scoot had gone straight to the Bog's High Commander Rhoda, who in turn told the Bograt leader, Ratios, of my plight. Now Ratios is supposed to be in charge, but Rhoda, however, does all the thinking and actual decision making, and Ratios takes the credit. Rhoda explained Bodge's predicament to the gang, as he knew it. Rhoda was a tall and slender rat and stood bolt upright on two legs to talk and spoke in a kind but firm voice. Ratios, however, was tall, but didn't come over with the same authority, but still, he led the Bograts. I have been told this is true, so I must believe it. At once, the whole Bograt gang stopped dancing, put down their food and their drinks, which was a first, and roared out loud in a roaritude shanty sort of manner befitting their superior rat brains. Bodgie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Well, hang on one short and curly-pecking midget, shouted Ratios, the fox is big, and the fox is dangerous, and the fox is probably hungry for rat. The chanting stopped immediately. And anyway, it's probably too late to rescue Bodge now. The fox would have eaten him, and the fox will be looking for another meal. The gang thought about it for a while, scratched their superior heads and thought some more. Rats don't think very well, not even superior Bograts, or very often come to that, but once they do, and once a rat starts scratching, it's very hard for them to stop, scratching that is. The gang were not known for their bravery, and they weren't known for their tactical genius either. But Scoot explained Bodge's kindness, superior intelligence and witty humor which intrigued the Boggies, my nickname for the Bograts, and they felt Bodge deserved a good send-off. Rhoda agreed, which meant Ratios agrees, albeit reluctantly. I wasn't eaten as a matter of fact, and I wasn't a goner either, not just yet anyway. But I was lying down, slightly unconscious, with a big fox staring straight into my eyes. With this new drive to see me off in glory, the Bograts all set to, and marched towards the last place Scoot had seen me alive. Wait, shouted Ratios, I will lead you. As your leader, I'm right behind you all the way. Ratios led, from the back. The rats decided to look for my remains and make sure the fox had left the area. It was about then I began to wake from my slumbers, blurry-eyed and a little surprised to be looking at the Bograts surrounding me. Hello, I was cut short. We thought you had been eaten by that fox, squealed Scoot, but before I could reply, panic spread amongst the gang. They start wildly running around, pulling out their hair, and screaming at the top of their voices. Fox, fox, fox. It's okay, I tried to calm everyone, but everyone had vanished, it was just me and the fox sitting there looking around. Then we laughed so loud, and I put my arm around the fox's paw. Slowly, the gang came out of hiding one by one. The last to emerge was Ratios, the leader. Ha! What is going on here? Why isn't the fox eating us all? I felt I should explain before things got out of hand. Hello, I said again. I stood and walked to the front of the fox and opened my mouth to say, my name is. I was cut short again. Yes, we know your name, but why are you not eaten? Are you untastulous? Or are you covered in fox repellent? Ratios often spoke without thinking first. It was obvious Bodge couldn't repel a bicycle if he tried. Don't expect Bograts to always make sense, you'll be wasting your time. I don't know about that, but I could tell you what happened, if you like. Please do. Scoot's ears pricked up, please do. No wait, did you throw happy magic dust in his face? Did you do kung rat foo on his neck? No, what? No, I didn't. If you allow me to get a word in front ways, I'll tell you. I was under the car. Someone shouted, "What's the car?" I was waiting my chance to head towards the bog. It was all quiet. I took my chance and ran out. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground with a big fox staring right at me, straight into my eyes, both of them. The fox then asked if I was all right. I told him I was, and asked him what I was doing here, beneath a fox, and why he hadn't devoured me. I don't eat rats, not very tasty rats, and I can tell you are a nice rat. I've been following you all the way from the restaurant after your run-in with the smelly rats. You are different, like me. He then told me I nearly got run over by a stupid kid on a skateboard. I didn't know what a skateboard was, or what a stupid kid was either, but I was very grateful he rescued me from one. Thank you, mister. What's your name? My name, well, I don't have a name. I guess you can call me Mr. Fox or Fox for short, but not F, that's too short. Then I shall call you Fox. Thank you very much, Fox. Fox was a fox, but you knew that. I'm sure you've seen them running around town. Nothing particularly striking except he was a clever and resourceful fox with a funny sense of humor and a smart appearance, a proud fox. Whilst we sat there waiting and chatting, Fox told me his story, the story of how he came to be in this godforsaken town, which I found extremely interesting, and I think you will too. Remind me to tell you all about it later. I was a lot more tired than I realize. I fell into a deep sleep, the best sleep I've had in a while. Then I woke as you rats arrived to rescue me. What a day. So, that was my second adventure with the Bograts and my first meet with Fox and Scoot and all the gang. I was happy, but I couldn't help feeling something wasn't altogether right. I was made to feel part of the group, but I also felt a little different, just a little bit. But I don't give a blue ferret's left foot as I'm still alive and I'm amongst friends. I might not be able to dance, and I don't like to drink much, but it's great to be here, in this oh so smelly and very muddy swamp-like dark place I can call home sweet home. What could possibly go wrong here? Bodges Adventures with the Bograts.
Bodges Adventures with the Bograts was written by Colin Gilbert. The music was also written and recorded by Colin Gilbert.